not even gonna delay anymore. Let's bring in our esteemed guest, Fox Sports anchor, Mr. Lou Canellis. Clap it up.
What's up, T-Nick?
What's up,
Hello
Mr.
there,
Lou?
Oh,
How
hey
you doing?
guys. What's happening? I've got Gia with me too. Usually
doing,
tonight's
Gia?
daddy-daughter night, and Gia wanted to sit in just for a couple of minutes, and then she'll go back and she'll work on her later.
Absolutely. Hi, Gia.
Hi.
Hi.
Big
How old are
Bears
you, Gia?
fan.
How old are you,
He's a
Gia?
Bears fan. Awesome. How
How
old
old?
are you, Gia?
How old are you?
6.
Ooh, my daughter's 6'2".
Awesome.
Oh, he's got a daughter that's 6
My
as
daughter
well.
is 6'2".
What grade are you in?
First grade?
First grade. You like school?
Yeah.
Did you go today?
Yeah.
In the cold?
Yeah, I don't want to be the one, but my mom said my kids can stay home today.
Oh,
It was like 1 degree outside, man. It was free. I didn't go to work today. I called in dead. I was like, man, I'm dead today. I'm not going.
man, I wish I could have called in dead.
Same.
I had to go in the Fox. I was on the day shift today because we've got, I don't know if you guys have seen the show. We do a show on Tuesdays called First and North. On
Really?
Oh, I've heard of it. I've never actually tuned into it, though. I have heard of it, though.
Yeah, it's myself and then someone from Fox Milwaukee, Fox Detroit, Fox Minneapolis, and we talk about the NFC North. So,
So it's like a trash talking page.
yeah, tonight
It's a professional trash talking page.
Tonight I steal the show since we got Big Ben in town.
Right. So, Mr. Lou, how do you feel about this new acquisition?
I got to be honest with you guys. Like most Bears fans out there, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that the Bears ponied up and got Big Ben, who was the most coveted coach available out there. Honestly, full transparency, my number one was Mike Vrabel, but he was ticketed to New England from the get-go. You could see that was happening. So then I had number two, and that was Ben Johnson. And I just didn't think that the Bears would pony up $13 million a season if we're to believe what Mike Florio is reporting, and that Johnson will get $13 million a season from the Bears, which is basically $1 million a year more than John Harbaugh is getting from the Baltimore Ravens. But they did, and I think we need to tip our cap to Bears ownership, to Kevin Warren, to Ryan Poles, who sold Ben Johnson on coming to the Bears organization instead of taking his GM of choice to Las Vegas. But I'll be honest with you guys. All along, I thought that the Tom Brady Vegas story was BS. I at least had hoped that Ben Johnson was smarter than that. Yeah. And I'll give you guys a comp. Okay, when Michael Jordan left and went to Washington and they gave him a piece of the Wizards, did the Wizards win the NBA title? No. When he went and became majority owner of the Charlotte Bobcats, did they become the NBA champs?
They were horrible. If I'm
not mistaken. What in the hell does Tom Brady know about putting together a roster? He's not throwing on the number 12 and playing quarterback. So in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, if Ben Johnson is as smart as everyone says he is, the mathematician that went to North Carolina and has become this offensive whiz kid in the NFL, if he's smart, and he's been smart enough to sit on the sidelines for 3 years and wait for the right opportunity. He could have been a head coach 3 years ago, but he has waited. He turned down Washington last year. He turned down Carolina the year before, which would have meant the opportunity to go back to where he's from, Charlotte, with his family, because it wasn't the right opportunity. Really? Vegas is the right opportunity? They haven't had a coach last into the fourth season since 2002 when Gruden was still there. They don't have a quarterback.
And not to mention Not to mention they have a wide receiver, an elite wide receiver who is not happy and doesn't want to be there, and an elite pass rusher who's loyal, but he doesn't really want to be there either, it seems
So
like.
why would Ben Johnson go there, Frank, if he was
Absolutely.
smart? It was all bull.
Yeah.
And Ryan Poles knew it. And as soon as the Lions lost on Saturday night, I'm sure he was on the phone with Ben Johnson's agents from Priority Sports, who are Chicago guys, by the way, and said, listen, let's make this happen. We don't need to meet with him in person. We're going to fulfill the Rooney Rule by bringing in Eddie George, and we're ready to make Ben an offer that he can't refuse. So I tip the cap to Virginia McCaskey, who, even though she's 102 years old, is still told when they're going to spend $13 million of her money, they tell George and Kevin Warren, who has really changed the perception of this Bears organization around the NFL. And they went and they closed the deal and they got their guy. And remember this word, guys, perception. And I'll leave you with this. The Bears are trying to build a new stadium with a dome for about $6 billion. They don't have that kind of money. They need help. They need taxpayer help. And coming off a 5-12 season, it's pretty tough. And you guys are Chicago guys. Okay. It's tough to get the legislature in Springfield to buy into a team that didn't fulfill expectations and finished 5-12. So what do? You go out and you get the number one head coach available. So Chris Welch, who's the Speaker of the House, and Governor Pritzker, and all those politicians who have to answer to taxpayers like you four guys and myself, can say, hey, listen, maybe the Bears are going to be real good next year because they got Ben Johnson, they got the right coach instead of settling for Mike McCarthy. I think it's a big day for the Bears.
I love it. I feel the same way.
Yeah, and why would he want to go to Las Vegas? I read somewhere that they've gone and had 3 GMs in the last 4 years.
Exactly.
We thought the Bears were bad when it came down to that stuff.
It's not a winning situation.
No.
And guess what? If he makes the trip, guys, and he goes to Vegas and flames out in 3 years, he's back to being an offensive coordinator. Look at Matt Eberflus is interviewing for defensive coordinator jobs, not for head coaching jobs. Mm-hmm. Dan Quinn needed to be a D coordinator again after he lost his job in Atlanta before he got the chance in Washington.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, I was that one. I was on the same boat. Ben Johnson was always my number one choice. And I mean, yeah, the guy who went to Tennessee, went to I have a brain fart right now. New England, sorry. Yeah, he was my number 2, but I never even put him in my top 3 because I knew New England closed that out pretty much from day one. But the thing is with Ben Johnson, and it's what I always preach to people who say, yes, we hired another coordinator. So, I mean, you're always worried. We wanted an experienced coach this time. Why go through a coordinator again? But when you think about the last few coordinators we had from a Matt Nagy, he had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You think of Eberflus. I didn't really think he even, no offense, I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, and he was a good coordinator, but I didn't feel like he deserved to be a head coach yet. Like, this guy, I got nothing bad to say. I mean, when you look at our division, especially with the LaFleur, like, look what he's doing. I mean, you're always worried about the character in the locker room. When you're winning football games, the character, I don't care. It'll fix itself when you're winning football games and your offense is putting up 30-plus points a game.
Well, not only Matt LaFleur, you got Dan Campbell. You can't forget about Dan Campbell. And you got Kevin O'Connell.
Exactly. We didn't even interview.
Contract today.
Lou, I gotta be this guy.
He is that guy.
I'm usually the person who tries to see the forest instead of just the tree.
I get it.
And I'm probably like you. I can go all the way back. I've been suffering since '85, brother. I remember when Dave Wanstead was the hot guy to get. coming off of 2 Super Bowl wins in Dallas, and he was the can't miss, gotta be number 1 coach. And we get him, and look what happens.
JB, you know how many times the Bears went to the playoffs with Wani? And you're right, 93. He was coming off those Super Bowl wins in Dallas with Jimmy Johnson. He was the hot coordinator. And in 6 seasons, they went to the playoffs once.
Yes, I remember that.
So I get it. There are no guarantees. But there's no guarantees. There would have been no guarantees with Mike McCarthy.
No,
there were no guarantees.
There's no guarantees for anything. It's because the guarantees are already employed by other teams. Those are your guarantees. Like every single pick that you get, even if it was a Pete Carroll who was a Super Bowl winner, should have had 2 other than making 1 big bad mistake. And then you got McCarthy, who's at least been to the playoffs a lot and won a Super Bowl, even though it was with Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't mean they're going to come in here and completely change our franchise.
Frank, you still have to have the players.
Yeah.
Okay, you need an offensive line.
100%.
We know we know what we need in this town, and Ryan Poles knows what he needs on this roster. He needs 2 or 3 offensive linemen. I don't care how you get them.
I would have said more than 2 or 3, honestly.
Well, the only guy that really is a lock is Darnell Wright.
Yes,
and I'd be okay if you went another season with Braxton Jones, because if you really dig deep into his numbers at left tackle this season, he wasn't horrible. But other than that, you need all kinds of help.
The biggest thing with Braxton was coming into the draft. His biggest issue was he would just get steamrolled a lot. He would just get out-muscled, and that didn't improve at all. Like I felt like he's still in that same exact issue with there. But I mean, compared to the Yale guy that we got, I mean, I'm not attacking him. It was his rookie season coming off of an injury, and you get thrown into the Minnesota Vikings for your first NFL start, days notice. I mean, that's got to be tough for anybody.
Days notice with no work with the first team. Okay, first NFL game. Yeah, that's a tough position to put Karan and Magaji into. That is for damn sure. So they know what they need. They know they need another pass rusher. You wanted DeMarcus Walker to get to the quarterback more. It hasn't happened. Hasn't happened in the 2 seasons since he's come from Tennessee. Gervon Dexter got off to a terrific start. First 5 games, had 4 sacks. Cooled down then with his play.
If I'm not mistaken, when Billings went down is really when Dexter.
Well, that was the big difference. When they lost Andrew Billings, who was their 3 technique in that defense, that was difficult. That was tough. And Zach Pickens just hasn't shown that he's been worthy of the 3rd round pick he was a couple of years ago.
Not at all.
So they're going to need to go out and get a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and in my opinion, 3 offensive linemen. And I know there are people out there. Michael is writing about, we need a running back. Listen, you spent $24 million on DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a solid
25 carries in open space, or else you'll waste a lot of money.
Yeah.
Listen, DeAndre Swift isn't a bad running back. He had a pretty good season in Philadelphia the year before. But remember, he played behind that Eagles offensive line. It all starts up front. The Bears need to improve their offensive line.
Yeah. And I mean, the key thing is, and you said it too, like, I mean, with our new head coach here, you had Gibbs and Montgomery. I'm not comparing our 2 to Gibbs and Montgomery. I'm not doing that at all. But similar styles to our running backs with Roschon at the second, if we can get him some playing time. Because, I mean, I just felt like, and I always wondered why we didn't use Roschon that much last year.
They're not the same.
Go ahead, GB. Sorry.
No, I was just saying they're not the same. Sonic and Knuckles.
No, and I'm just saying more like
the
bruisers up the middle type.
And we had, but see, here's the thing, and Lou, I want to swing this to you with a 2-parter. Ben Johnson coming here, and everybody already elated about success that he's going to have and turn us from worst to first type deal. We are not the same as the Lions are currently constructed. And on top of that, he has to learn how to be a head coach. He has to learn to not just be a leader of men on the offensive side of the ball, but the whole team. He also has to get competent people around the rest of the team, and he's got to fix Caleb. And to some people say, oh, Caleb's fine. There's reports you're up there. Caleb is not fine. Caleb needs a lot of tutelage. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody who's never, ever done it before. So that's what I'm more concerned about, because not saying that Mike McCarthy or Vrabel or Flores or Rex Ryan or whoever is all of that, but at least one thing you know is they don't have to worry about being a head coach. Bruce Arians we missed out on. Dan Quinn looks like we missed out on. Guys that have proven that they can at least get the head coaching part right. That's what I'm concerned about, Ben Johnson. And if we don't get the players, like you stated, aren't we looking at another 5 to 7 win team?
Well, boy, you threw a lot at me right there, JB. but all good points. So rumor has it, and it hasn't been confirmed yet, they needed to make sure Johnson signed the contract today first. But the big rumor out there is that he's putting together a pretty good staff. And it's starting with their defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen,
Their OC
who was the head coach, so brings head coaching experience with the Saints, and a pretty damn good defensive coordinator as well, with a defense that's, in my opinion, really good. Okay, if it comes back healthy with Jaquan Brisker and Andrew Billings, and again, they could use someone up front to help Sweat get to the quarterback. It's still a pretty good defense, really good when it comes to red zone defense. Boy, you hit me with so much. I'm forgetting some of the other things you said, but you brought up great points, Caleb.
The main sticking point
wants to be,
Caleb. That's the main point.
Wants to be coached, but he wants to be coached by guys he respects, and I'm not sure the respect is there with Shane Waldron.
No.
Caleb, listen, the world has made it easy for Caleb, okay, because of his success in high school at Oklahoma and then USC, winning the Heisman, and then his final year where he struggled in the second half of that season. Thomas Brown stood up to Caleb and said, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you don't want to hear and what you need to work on. And Caleb said, that's what I want. I need a coach who knows what he's doing, who's going to sit me down and show me tape and tell me how to get better. One area in where Williams needs to get better is play action, working under center.
They don't run it.
All he did was work out of the shotgun in college. So he doesn't know. He hasn't played enough under center. He will under Ben Johnson. Do you guys know? You guys talked about the running game that they have in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I'll never forget when they drafted Gibbs after they had signed Montgomery.
I know. I remember that too.
People thought Detroit was nuts. Yeah. That was a Ben Johnson idea. He said, no, we're going to have the game's best running game, okay, which will help Jared Goff in the passing game. Mm-hmm. They ran, only 2 teams in the league last year ran the football more than the Lions. But what does everyone talk about when they talk about Ben Johnson and the Lions offense? They talk about an offense that scored 30 points 10 times last season, more than 40 points in 4 games, and more than 50 points in 2 games, and that Jared Goff suddenly turned into one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Guys like you and I, we talk about their running game. We talk about Gibbs. We loved Montgomery when he was in town. He was a great locker room guy. But no one really talks about, damn it, they ran the football as much as anyone in football. That's what he's going to do with the Bears. Needs the backs, needs the offensive line. I saw one of your guys that are watching right now said something about going out and drafting Ashton Genty. Yeah, I'd love to get Genty, but we need offensive linemen first. We don't need playmakers.
Maybe next year.
Blockers.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll get another running back. But this year, I mean, we just got too much more that needs to be filled, in my opinion.
And I don't think Roshan Johnson's the guy, guys.
Really?
I've seen enough of Roshan that I just don't see it.
Really?
I was the person who did not want David Montgomery to leave. I did not, because he was just somebody with a horrible offensive line. Got hit in the back. I think it was 1 year, more than 50% of his handoffs, he was hitting the backfield before he even got to the line of scrimmage, and still almost averaged 3 yards a carry. Like, I never wanted Montgomery gone.
It was his decision. Bears waited.
Didn't Detroit add on the extra year though? That was like the done
No,
deal. I thought.
I heard the Bears went back to him at the end of the year and were willing to match.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
And he said that he already had made the decision to move on.